everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, today I'm going to do another splash painting with the neon and glow colors, but I want a dark background this time. The other times I did a lighter background, and I want to go for the opposite effect. So, the colors I am using just a hodgepodge mix of phthalo blue and phthalo green. That is making this background color. And there is some blue and green glow paint in there, just so it has some kind of reaction when I use the black light. Unfortunately, usually the blues don't show up great with the black light, but we're gonna see what happens. I mean, they show up great in person. They don't show up great on camera, is what I meant to say. Okay. Fluid art inspiration cards. If you've seen this spiel, you can fast forward. What we have are 52 cards. There are 42 techniques, each one with an associated video where you can go see the how-to, the full tutorial with consistencies and exact colors. And each one has a color palette on the bottom that corresponds. Also, these two boxes are meant to be used together in a two-color pour, or you could add white or silver or whatever other complementary color. So lots of color palette choices. And then there are 8 bonus color palette cards, each one having 5 different palettes. Use some of the colors, use all of the colors. Just good to have when you're looking for an inspiration or trying to bust out of your comfort zone and try something new. Challenge yourself. All right, the rest of the colors we have going here are a mix of that phthalo blue and phthalo green and glow paints. And they look a little different when they are glowing. So I have to keep that in mind, that this is going to be 3 paintings in one. 1 will be the natural light, how you would see it now. 2 would be with my UV flashlight, and 3 is without any light at all, the glow paint. This will glow. The difference, if it says neon, you need a black light. If it says glow, then it just needs light to charge it. So the glow paints will glow without the light. The neon paints need the light. So 3 paintings in one. It's a lot to consider when you're trying to figure out your color palette. These lighter colors, this is titanium white mixed with glow paint. And this is the straight glow paint, this, with a touch of the neon blue, just to change the hue because it's very yellow, and it will be yellow when it glows, but under the black light this will give it a more blue look. Okay, this one here looks a little more green. This is the titanium white. I did that because if I do it straight, it looks purple under the UV light. So by adding a little bit of the glow green, it took a lot of that purple out and gave it more of a yellowish green hue. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. These paints have been mixed with Floetrol. The base coat is 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol, and the consistency is pretty thick. I'm doing this thick because these colors are very transparent, and if I make it too thin, then it's very hard to get good coverage. You find challenges whenever you're doing this, and you're like, oh, well, next time I'll have to change this that I normally don't do. It's a moving target, man. All right, first things first, I need to lay down this base coat. It is thicker than usual. All right, I'm about ready to get this started, and I will be going into voiceover mode, but first I want to show you the tools I'll be using. We have this flat palette knife. This is number 1, that was a number 2, and I have a skewer that I cut and sanded the end so that it has kind of like that orange stick tip on one side and a little pointy end on the other. And that's pretty much all I will need to do what I need to do. So let's get this party started, shall we? First thing I'm going to do is lay down my horizon and make sure I have that straight. And I'm gonna go about a little more than a quarter of the way down, and just lay in a light line so I know what I'm doing. Okay, I like the way that's looking. Now I'm going to sketch out the splash, and I will be going into the voiceover mode. All right, so here I am laying out the outline, just a sketch basically, with a mid-tone. I'm kind of deciding the directions that the splash is moving and where the light is going to be catching it. The trick to these splash paintings, you know, I had a boatload of colors there. I really only used the darkest blue, which is the background, and a mid-tone. I used the titanium white that was mixed with that green, and the glow paint. I think the rest of them I probably didn't even dip into, because this was working out on its own. You know, all my other splashes had a light background, and so this was my first attempt with the dark background, so there was a little bit of learning curve, as there always is. So this video originally was 2 hours and 51 minutes. I actually ran out of space, so I had to clear some stuff off before I could edit. And I will show you at the very, very end, there were a couple of water droplets that I changed the shape because I just wanted them to look more connected together. And unfortunately, it was after my phone had shut off. So now I'm doing the bubbles. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make a video to show you guys how to do these droplets. So I can do it up close and in real time. And I'll make sure I zoom in on it. But basically, it's the opposite of painting on a light background. When I'm using a light background, if I'm doing these droplets, I put down a drop of my dark color, and then I put down the color of my background in the center. And that gives you that ring around the outside and gives you the appearance of transparency. The more of the background color that you add, the more transparent it's going to look. Now, of course, you want to have highlights, and when you're doing the highlights, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to where your light source is. So I'm kind of picturing that my light source is kind of just above and slightly to the left. Yeah, I started doing the droplets with the mid-tone and then decided that I was better off just doing the opposite of what I do with the light backgrounds, which is what I explained. A drop of your light color and then adding the background color into the center. And then I keep going back and forth. The titanium white sinks, so I have to keep going back and adding it. And now I'm adding some of that mid-tone in there. The splashes, the droplets do take quite a bit of time to get them how I like them. I don't want them perfectly round, so I kind of try to make them a little oddly shaped. It's a lot of back and forth between the colors. And so, while I'm doing this, I'm keeping in mind that the paints will look different under the black light or UV light than they will when they're glowing on their own. And so what I made sure to do this time was to come in with my highlights with the titanium white mix before I start messing around with the straight glow paint. And you'll see as I get a little further in, the the titanium white, you might not be able to see it unless I'm doing it up close, and even then, perhaps not, because some colors just don't like to appear on the iPhone. But the titanium white has a purple hue to it because it's reflecting the black light itself. So it appears to be purple. So, and that's why I added the green to that white, so that it didn't look so purple that it looked odd when looking at a UV light. You know, doing these splashes, it seems hard, and it is a challenge, but it's not as hard as you might think. And you'll get better with every one. Like, each one I do, I feel I improve in some way. You know, and you'll learn just going back and forth between the light, your lightest lights and your darkest darks, and just doing that will really start to bring it to life. I'm trying to see what I'm doing here. It's hard for me to see. There's a little box that is covering up the painting. I wish there was a way to move this thing out of the way so I could see exactly what I'm doing. But I can see now that I am trying to get that nice transparent look in the center, because if it's the same color as the background, then that's where it's the most see-through. And then adding in these little lines to try to give the effect of ripples and motion. And now see, I'm coming back in with dark. And I'm going to just keep going back and forth between those two until it really feels liquid to me. Or until it starts to dry, which is kind of usually when I actually stop, because I don't think I would ever stop if it didn't start to set up on me. I would keep going because I'm an absolute nut and a perfectionist, and I want to make the impossible happen. So you can see it's really starting to come to life now, adding in the dark and that light. And okay, now I think I'm coming in. Is that the glow paint? I can't tell. Oh, this silly box that is in front of me. I don't know why they can't put the box that says recording off to the side. Okay, no, I think this is... Yeah, this is the titanium. I'm trying to bring in more highlights because they keep sinking. I do think that's the titanium white. So the glow paint, it's the transparent glow paint. It dries almost clear. It has a slightly yellow hue to it, but for the most part it dries clear. So I'm making sure that I get the highlights that I want before I add that glow paint, because it's going to trick me. it will look lighter than it is, because it looks light when you lay it down, but once it dries clear. So I come back in after I've laid in my highlights and get all of my hues the way I like them, and then add the glow paint. And if this darn box wasn't in my way, I would know exactly what I was doing. Because I can't see the cup that I'm holding in my hand behind the little black box that says recording. So, here I am obsessing about the bubbles. Gotta get those droplets right. Okay. Now I think I'm doing the glow paint. Am I? No. I don't know how much good this voiceover is going to do you. Okay. I can see that I'm bringing in highlights again. More highlights. More ripples. More motion. And you do it, then you undo it, and then you do it again. Until it feels right or starts to dry. But I am really pleased overall with how this came out. It looks super cool when it's... Now this is definitely the glow paints, because I'm going in heavy. So this is just the neutral glow. And so although it looks like it's heavy-handed, it will dry clear. Making sure I get... Yeah, so I'm checking it with the black light to see where do I need it. Or my UV light. And you can see as I'm adding the glow, it starts bringing it out, and it just looks so groovy when it's done and glowing. Just the glow part alone came out really cool. I mean, it looks great with the UV light too, but I was really pleased with the effect with just the glow without a light on. The phosphorescent glow. And when you think about it, we're this is fluid acrylics, so it wants to make itself look like a liquid. It lends itself perfectly to blending to give it that liquid effect. Like doing this part here, I mean, it is not difficult at all to get that watery look. And I'm just checking the glow aspect and touching up what needs to be touched up. bringing in those extra glow highlights so it looks groovy when you turn off the bed at night, turn off your light in the bedroom, if that's where you put it. Again, keeping in mind where my light source is coming from and making sure that the bubbles are reflecting the same way for the most part. All right, I'll bring you in for the close-up. Okay, here it is. It is partially dried, but if I waited for this to fully dry, I would not be able to do this part of the video until tomorrow night, and I'm impatient. So, you can see I kind of joined some of the droplets together just to give it a little variety. There. Looking pretty cool. Let's see what this looks like with the UV light. Okay, let me see if I can get in close up so you can see like how that titanium white has a little bit of a bluish hue, kind of a purplish, I guess a violet, since it's reflecting the UV, the ultraviolet. But it looks pretty cool with the UV light. I'm trying to get a good angle, but it's not great. It's hard to use this little flashlight on this 16 by 20. My arms aren't long enough to get it back far enough. But here's where it's really cool, and I hope that the video picks it up. It does not disappear that quickly to the naked eye, but I think the camera adjusts for it. It does glow for, I don't know, I guess around a minute. Yeah, it just gets dark in here and the camera adjusts. But it does glow for longer than what the camera is picking up. You'll be able to see it in the picture that I'll put in the beginning. But there it is. All right. So there it is, and this is looking a little bluer. It's not looking quite as green as it is in person. There is some green in there. It's not just straight blue. But there it is. I'm happy with it. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. If you did, please like and share and subscribe. Make sure you click that bell so you get notifications when there's new uploads. If you found these tutorials helpful and would like to support this channel, you can find my PayPal and my Venmo tip jar in the description box below. You can also find the link to my Amazon store. Anything you purchase off the entire site of Amazon, I receive a small commission of at no additional cost to you. And being that everybody is kind of having to order everything online, it's a great way for you to support an artist without costing you a penny. And also, join our Facebook group. Go make some art. Post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. What else is in there? I'm forgetting something, I'm sure. All right. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.